Her message pops up after all that silence, after all the time apart. You're staring at your phone, wondering what to do next. Here's the answer. You don't react emotionally. You respond strategically. This isn't about jumping back into old conversations or feeding into nostalgia. It's about holding your frame, keeping your peace, and remembering that you decide who gets access to your energy. Now, in this video, I'll guide you through the mindset and the exact approach you need when she reaches out after silence. Because responding the right way isn't about playing games. It's about showing that you've evolved, that you no longer seek validation from someone who once walked away. So if you're ready to handle this moment like a man who knows his worth, let's get into it. Number 1. Not every message deserves a reaction. Reaction: when her message pops up, your first instinct might be to reply right away. But pause. Ask yourself, does this really require a response? You see, in today's world, we're conditioned to think that every notification demands immediate attention. That if someone reaches out, especially her, we must engage, explain, or keep the conversation alive. But here's where a man who understands emotional discipline separates himself from the rest. A Stoic man knows that his peace isn't up for grabs every time his phone lights up. Just because she breaks the silence doesn't mean you should rush to fill it. Not every "I was just thinking about you" is an invitation to reconnect. Sometimes it's just a moment of curiosity, boredom, or even her testing if you're still standing where she left you. Imagine you've been silent for weeks, focusing on yourself, regaining your balance after things cooled off between you two. Out of nowhere, she sends a simple message. "I saw something today that reminded me of you now on the surface. It feels warm, maybe even nostalgic." But what's really behind those words? Is she genuinely trying to rebuild something meaningful? Or is she simply stirring the waters to see if you'll still ripple at her touch? Silence isn't ignorance, it's intention. When you choose not to reply, you're not being rude, you're preserving your energy for what truly matters. You're signaling that your attention is earned, not handed out just because someone remembered your name when the room got quiet. Think about it. How many times have you responded out of habit only to find yourself in a conversation that leads nowhere, where you give away your presence, your thoughts, your emotions, just to satisfy a momentary ping of validation? That's not connection. That's reaction, and reaction, when uncontrolled, becomes weakness. A Stoic approach teaches you to pause between stimulus and response to ask, is this aligned with my purpose, or am I just feeding someone else's need for reassurance? Remember, you're not obligated to dance every time the music starts playing. Sometimes the most powerful move is to let the song play without stepping onto the floor. Let her wonder. Let her feel the weight of your calm. Because when you master the art of selective silence, you remind both her and yourself that your value isn't in how quickly you respond. It's in knowing when not to. That's a perspective most men overlook, but I want to hear from you. How do you handle these moments? Have you ever stayed silent and realized later it was the best decision you made? Or did you ever respond too quickly and regret giving away your energy? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're not sure what to say, just type "silence is strength" to let me know you're someone who values calm over impulse. Now let's move forward and talk about something just as important. How to read between the lines when she reaches out, because words alone rarely tell the full story. Number 2, assess intent. Assess intent, not just words. Words she says, "Hey, how have you been?" Sounds simple, harmless, maybe even caring. But here's where most men slip. They take words at face value, eager to believe what they want to hear, instead of seeing what's actually being said, or why it's being said. You see, words are easy. Anyone can type a message, throw out a casual greeting, or spark a conversation when it suits them. But the real question is, what's behind those words? Is she genuinely interested in rebuilding something meaningful? Or is she just testing the waters to see if you're still there, still available, still hers when she needs a little ego boost? A man grounded in wisdom doesn't rush to reply, just because the message feels familiar or comforting. He pauses, he observes, he understands that not every "I miss you" means she wants you back, and not every "How have you been" comes from a place of care. Sometimes it's just a check to see if you're still orbiting around her world, ready to provide attention when she feels a little bored or insecure. Think about it. Where was this energy when you were consistent, when you were showing up, offering your presence, your time, your effort? If her words now appear out of nowhere, especially after periods of distance or indifference, it's your job to assess intent, not just react to the surface level sweetness. The Stoics had a simple but powerful approach to life. Focus on reality, not illusions. Epictetus reminded us that it's not things, or in this case words, that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. When you hear from her, don't let old emotions cloud your judgment. Stay calm, stay curious. Look at the pattern, not just the moment. For example, if she's reaching out after weeks of silence, ask yourself, has anything changed? Is she following up with real effort, consistent behavior, or is it just a breadcrumb to keep your attention alive? Because a man who values his peace doesn't chase breadcrumbs. He waits for a full table, or he walks away without bitterness. Remember, being wise isn't about being cold or cynical. It's about being clear-headed. It's about knowing that words without aligned actions are just noise. And when you start living by that principle, you'll notice something powerful. You no longer get pulled into meaningless conversations or emotional traps. You control where your energy goes, because in the end, it's not about being available when she feels like talking. It's about staying true to your standards, your calm and your clarity. That's how a man earns respect, not by reacting to every word, but by understanding the intent behind them and choosing wisely whether it deserves his response. Number 3. Control the tempo, don't rush in. She reached out, good, but that doesn't. Control the tempo, don't rush in. Mean you suddenly become available on demand. Let's pause here for a moment, because this is where most men stumble. The second they see her name pop up, they throw away their composure. They rush to reply, eager to keep the conversation alive, thinking, this is my chance. But ask yourself, why the rush? Who set the pace? Was it you, or was it your emotions reacting to her timing? A man with discipline knows better. He understands that just because someone knocks doesn't mean you swing the door open right away. You see, controlling the tempo isn't about playing hard to get. It's about living by your rhythm, not being dragged into hers when you let someone else dictate the pace. You're no longer leading, you're following, and that's where you lose your power. Think of a Stoic philosopher observing a storm. The winds howl, the rain pours, but he doesn't run for cover and panic. He moves with intention when it's right, not when fear or excitement tells him to. That's how you should handle these moments when she reaches out after silence, after distance. It's easy to let eagerness cloud your judgment, but urgency, that's the enemy of clarity. It makes you reactive, not reflective. Maybe she texted you, "Hey, stranger," or "I was just thinking about you." Sounds nice, doesn't it? But here's where your mindset separates you from the rest. Instead of jumping to reply, within seconds, you lean back, you breathe, you remind yourself you're not here to validate her curiosity or ease her boredom. You respond when it aligns with your calm, not when you feel a pull to prove something. Controlling the tempo is a quiet form of strength. It tells her, and more importantly, reminds you that your world doesn't spin faster. Just because she decided to reappear, it shows that you value your peace over the fleeting thrill of immediate connection. So next time she reaches out, don't see it as a green light to accelerate. See it as a test of your patience, your discipline. Let her feel that your attention is earned, not given away at the first sign of interest, because a grounded man never chases after attention. He didn't seek, he walks at his own pace, knowing that anything and anyone meant for him will match his rhythm. not the other way around. Number 4, curiosity isn't. Curiosity isn't commitment. Commitment, many times, her message isn't a sign of wanting you back. It's just curiosity. Do you still go to that place? Remember, when we used to, you see, these aren't invitations to rekindle something real. They're emotional breadcrumbs, small, harmless drops of attention to see if you're still there, still reachable, still orbiting around her world. It's tempting. I know when you felt something deep for someone, even the smallest message can spark hope. But here's where a grounded man separates himself from the rest. He doesn't confuse curiosity with commitment. Think of it like this. A person walking past a house might glance through the window, wondering how things look inside. But that doesn't mean they're planning to move in. She might wonder how you're doing, who you've become, or if you still think about her. But that doesn't mean she's ready to rebuild what was broken or offer something meaningful. Now imagine she sends a message late at night. I was just thinking about that trip we took that's not a proposal to reconnect. It's a flicker of memory, a moment where she let her mind wander. But many men would jump at this thinking, this is it, she misses me. And they'd rush in, offering their presence, their emotions, their energy. But you're different. You know that real commitment doesn't come wrapped in vague messages or sentimental throwbacks. It shows up in clear actions, consistent effort and genuine intention. Not in casual curiosity, remember? Curiosity is easy. It costs nothing to send a message. True commitment, on the other hand, demands presence, accountability and depth. So when she reaches out with these light touches, don't lean forward eagerly. Stay balanced, stay in your center. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself to receive without pride, let go without attachment. That's exactly how you handle these moments. You can appreciate the message without inflating its meaning. You can acknowledge the past without getting pulled back into it. In the end, your peace comes from knowing that you don't need to chase shadows of what once was. You wait for substance, not signals. You respond to clarity, not curiosity. And that's the strength that keeps you in control, not of her, but of yourself. So before we move on, I want you to take a moment and really reflect on this. How many times have you mistaken a passing thought for genuine intention? It happens to the best of us. But awareness is where growth begins. A man who understands this subtle difference no longer feels the urge to react to every breadcrumb tossed his way. Instead, he values his energy too much to spend it on. May what ifs? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever experienced a situation where her curiosity made you think it was more than it really was? Share your story in the comments, or if you prefer to keep it simple, just drop this sentence to show you're embracing this mindset. I respond to clarity, not curiosity. I'll be reading through. And I'm curious, but in the right way, to see how you've handled these moments. Now, let's move forward and talk about how to maintain that inner strength when these subtle tests continue to appear. Keep it light but firm. Number 5, keep it light but firm if you decide to respond. Do it with calm confidence. No emotional outpouring, no sarcastic remarks. It's easy to get caught up when she finally reaches out. Maybe after days, weeks, or even months of silence. Your emotions want to take the lead. Part of you might feel relief, excitement, or even the urge to remind her of everything she missed. But that's where most men lose their balance. They respond too heavy, too eager, or too defensive. Instead, your reply should carry the weight of someone who's centered, light enough to show you're unaffected but firm enough to set the tone. This is where emotional discipline speaks louder than words. You're not here to entertain drama, nor to feed into nostalgia. You're simply showing that you can engage without giving away your power. For example, if she says, "Hey, stranger, long time no talk," many guys would either flood the conversation with enthusiasm or hit back with passive-aggressive humour. Both responses reveal too much. Either that you've been waiting for this moment or that you're still holding on to resentment. But a man grounded in Stoic principles knows better. A simple, calm response like, "Yeah, it's been a while, hope all is well," does the job. It acknowledges her message without leaning in. Emotionally, think of it like standing tall in a storm, not shaken, not swayed, just present and composed. Your word should reflect that inner stillness. You're approachable, but you're not inviting chaos. You're polite, but you're not rolling out a red carpet for emotional gains. That balance, light but firm, is what leaves an impression. It tells her without saying it outright. You're in a place where peace isn't disturbed by a single message. Remember how you respond sets the tone. You're not here to prove anything. You're not here to reopen old wounds or chase validation. You're simply demonstrating that your world doesn't revolve around whether she appears or disappears. And ironically, that calm detachment often sparks more curiosity than any clever reply ever could number. 6. Avoid the "why did you disappear?" Avoid the "why did you disappear?" Trap if she asks, "Why did you go silent?" Don't explain yourself. Look, I get it. That question can catch you off guard. It sounds innocent, maybe even like she cares, but don't fall for it. This isn't really about her wanting a deep, honest answer. It's often a subtle test, a way to pull you into justifying your actions, to see if you're still seeking her approval or validation. And the moment you start explaining, you shift the power. Suddenly, you're on the defensive, as if taking a step back to protect your peace was some kind of crime. A Stoic man understands that his silence isn't something to apologize for. You didn't disappear. You reclaimed your space. You chose not to pour energy into a situation where it wasn't appreciated. That's not running away. That's self-respect in action. Think of Marcus Aurelius. He wrote about how we should retreat into ourselves when the world gets chaotic. You weren't being cold or playing games. You were doing exactly what a disciplined man does, protecting his inner peace. So when she hits you with, "Why did you go quiet?" keep it calm, keep it light. You don't owe her a detailed breakdown of your thoughts or feelings. If anything, a simple, "I've been focused on things that matter to me," is more than enough. Or better yet, steer the conversation elsewhere. Ask how she's been or comment on something neutral. The key here is to stay grounded. Never let her pull you into a place where you're explaining your worth. Let's say you pulled back because she was giving mixed signals, being distant, or taking you for granted. Weeks later, she reappears and asks that classic question, "Why did you disappear?" Now, most guys would panic, feeling the need to defend themselves, saying things like, "Well, I didn't know where we stood," or "You seemed uninterested." But that only reveals emotional dependence. It shows you were waiting on her cues instead. Picture this. You smile, stay relaxed, and say something like, "I've just been keeping things simple. No drama, no blame." That's the energy of a man who doesn't chase validation. She'll feel that. Because deep down she knows why you step back. People always know when they've been distant or dismissive. What surprises them is when you don't beg for attention. You simply remove yourself without noise. Remember the moment you start explaining, you're putting her feelings above your own principles. A Stoic man never feels pressured to justify his boundaries. He acts according to his values, not to please others. So when this trap appears, stay calm, stay firm, and understand. It's not really a question that needs an answer. It's a reminder of why holding your frame matters in the end. Silence isn't something to defend, it's something to master. Number 7. Let her lead the depth of conversation. Depth of conversation. Don't force deep conversations or ask heavy questions. Let her show her true intentions. I know it's tempting when she finally reaches out after a period of silence. Part of you might want to dive straight into meaningful talks. Maybe you're curious about where her head's at, what she's feeling, or if she's ready to rekindle something real. But here's where many men slip. They rush into depth, offering emotional intimacy before she's even shown she deserves it. A wise man understands that true connection isn't pulled. It's revealed, just like a Stoic doesn't demand answers from life, but observes with calm patience. You should approach these moments the same way if you push for deep conversations too soon. Where do we stand? Do you still think about us, or why did things fall apart? You're not guiding the interaction. You're surrendering your frame, you're handing over your emotional center, hoping she'll give you clarity. But clarity isn't something you ask for. It's something people naturally show through their actions and words when they feel safe and genuine. Think of it this way. When you walk into a quiet lake, you don't stomp around expecting to see clear reflections. You stand still. You wait, and only then does the water settle enough to reveal what's beneath. It's the same with conversations after distance. Let her guide how deep things go. If she wants to keep it light, follow her lead. If she starts opening up, revealing more than surface-level chatter, that's your sign she's genuinely invested. For example, if she starts with casual talk, "Hey, how have you been?" Don't twist it into a heart-to-heart. Respond lightly. Stay composed. But if over time she shifts to things like, "I've been thinking a lot about us," or "I miss the way we used to talk about everything," then only then do you match that depth. So remember, it's not your job to steer the conversation into emotional waters just because you crave answers or connection. Your role is to stay steady. Observe how far she's willing to go without your prompting. Let her earn back that depth through consistent, genuine effort, because once you make someone work for emotional closeness, they value it far more than if you hand it over. Just because they sent a message, patience isn't passive, it's powerful. And in these moments, your restraint speaks louder than any deep question ever could. That's the kind of discipline most men overlook, but it's exactly what sets you apart now. I want you to take a moment and reflect. Have you ever caught yourself rushing into deep conversations too soon, hoping to find certainty where there was none? How did that play out for you? Share your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear how you've handled these situations. Or if you're keeping it simple, just drop patience. Reveals true intentions to let me know you're embracing this mindset. Now let's move forward and talk about another crucial element that will keep you grounded when she reaches out. Number 8. No need to rehash the past, past the moment. She says something like, "I've been thinking about everything," or "I just wonder how we got here." Your mind might start racing, reliving every detail, every argument, every what if. But here's the truth, that's a trap. A wise man grounded in himself knows that revisiting the past doesn't change it. It only pulls you back into emotions. You've already worked hard to rise above. A Stoic understands that the past is beyond our control. What's done is done. You can't rewrite history, and more importantly, you don't need to. When she opens that door to old memories or mistakes, it's not your role to step inside and start analysing every crack in the wall. Instead, stand firm in the present. If she wants to talk, let it be about who she is today and whether that fits into your life now, not who she was when things fell apart. Think of it like this. Imagine you're walking forward and someone keeps trying to pull you by the arm to look back. Every time you turn around, you stop moving. You lose momentum. That's exactly what happens when you engage in endless conversations about the past. You're stuck in place while life moves on without you. Suppose she texts, "I still feel bad about how things ended between us." The average guy might jump in with, "Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Maybe if we had done this differently, but not you. You've learned better." You reply with something simple like, "We both learnt from it." And then you steer the conversation forward if there's even a conversation to have, because you're not here to replay old scenes, you're here to observe. If there's real change right now, remember, emotional discipline isn't just about staying calm, it's about choosing where to place your energy. The past can't offer you anything new, so why waste your breath trying to explain, justify, or relive moments that no longer define you? A man who respects himself doesn't get dragged into emotional quicksand. He keeps his focus on what's real today. If her words are stuck in yesterday, let her stay there. You're not obligated to follow. So next time she hints at revisiting old stories or unresolved feelings, stay grounded. Acknowledge it with grace, but don't linger. You're not avoiding the past because you're afraid of it. You're leaving it where it belongs because you've outgrown it. That's the power of presence. That's the mindset of a man who moves forward while others keep circling the same path. Number 9, decide if she still aligns. Decide if she still aligns with your standards before you continue. Any interaction, ask yourself, does this woman still fit into the life you're building? It's easy to get caught up in the moment when she reaches out, especially after a period of silence. Old feelings resurface memories, cloud your judgment, and part of you might think, maybe things will be different this time. But here's where discipline separates a grounded man from one who simply reacts. A Stoic doesn't let emotions dictate who earns a place in his life. He evaluates with clarity, not nostalgia. Think about it. You've grown during this time apart, or at least you should have. Maybe you've become more focused, more peaceful, more aligned with your values. So the real question isn't whether she wants to come back. The real question is whether she deserves to. Has she evolved? Does her presence support your purpose, or does it pull you back into patterns you've outgrown? Let's say she reaches out with a message like, "I've been thinking about us lately." That's not your cue to welcome her back with open arms. That's your cue to pause and reflect. Are you inviting someone into your world who genuinely complements your journey, or are you letting sentimentality lower your standards? Marcus Aurelius reminds us to stand upright, not be kept upright. That means you don't rely on fleeting emotions or external validation. You rely on your own judgment, your own values. So take a step back and observe. Does she show signs of real growth, or is this just comfort-seeking behaviour on her part? Is she aligning with the man you are now, or is she still expecting the version of you she once knew, the one who tolerated things you no longer accept? Remember, just because someone returns doesn't mean they belong. Sometimes people come back out of loneliness, boredom, or ego. It's your responsibility to filter that. You're not here to provide a second chance out of kindness or history. You're here to protect the life and mindset you've built. Number 10. Remember, you're not remember. You're not where she left you. Where she left you. Here's something most men forget when a woman decides to come back into their lives. You're not standing in the same place where she walked away, or at least you shouldn't be. The true power isn't in crafting the perfect reply or trying to impress her with words. It's in the quiet, undeniable truth that you've outgrown the version of yourself she once knew. If during the silence you've been focused on yourself, building discipline, sharpening your mind, embracing challenges instead of running from them, then when she reaches out, it's not you who needs to prove anything. Your presence, your composure, your indifference to old patterns will say everything. A Stoic man understands this deeply. Marcus Aurelius didn't write pages of philosophy to convince others. He wrote to remind himself to stay anchored, no matter who came or left. That's the mindset you need here when she sends that, "Hey, how have you been?" Or, "I was just thinking about you." It's easy to slip back into familiar emotions to react as the man she remembers. The one who might have waited, hoped, or felt incomplete without her attention. But you're past that, or at least you must be. Picture this. She left when you were still unsure of your worth, checking your phone too often, wondering what went wrong, replaying conversations in your head. But instead of staying stuck there, you chose the harder path. You hit the gym. Not just to look better, but to discipline your body. You read more. Not to distract yourself, but to sharpen your mind. You started setting goals. Not to fill a void, but to create direction. Now, when her message pops up, you're no longer the man sitting in limbo. You're a man in motion. You don't need to tell her you've changed. She'll feel it in how unbothered you are, how steady your responses are, how you no longer seek validation from her attention. That moment of realization when she senses that you're no longer emotionally in the place she left you is more powerful than any clever message or attempt to rekindle things. It's the quiet strength of a man who knows he doesn't need to chase what he once thought he couldn't live without. So when you see her name light up your screen, take a breath. Remind yourself, you're not where she left you. You've been climbing, evolving, becoming. And that, without a single word, will change the entire dynamic. And there it is. The core truth. Conclusion that too many men overlook when she finally reaches out after silence. It's never really about what you say, it's about who you've become. In her absence, every message, every subtle test, every breadcrumb she drops, it's all an opportunity not to win her back, but to prove to yourself that you've outgrown the need for external validation. If you've been paying attention throughout this video, you know by now emotional control, patience, and clarity are your greatest allies. A man grounded in discipline doesn't react to nostalgia, doesn't get pulled into old patterns, and certainly doesn't hand over his energy just because someone from the past decides to reappear. So what's the real lesson here? It's simple but powerful. You are always in control of who gets access to your peace, your time, and your presence. Just because she reaches out doesn't mean she deserves a place in your life now you've evolved, or at least you should have. And that evolution should speak louder than any reply you could ever type. Now I want you to really reflect on this. If she reached out today, would you respond as the man she left behind, or as the man you've become? That's the question that separates those who repeat cycles from those who break free and move forward. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Have you experienced this shift? Have you ever felt that quiet strength when you realized you no longer needed to chase or explain yourself? Or if you want to keep it simple but powerful, just type, "I've outgrown the past," to let me know you're walking this path of discipline and self-respect. If this video gave you clarity, helped you reclaim your power, or reminded you of the strength in silence and patience, make sure to hit that like button. It helps spread this message to other men who need to hear it, and don't stop here. There's more to master. Check out the videos on screen now. Whether it's understanding the subtle signs she's missing you or learning how to maintain your frame. No matter what, these next steps will keep you sharp, grounded, and always in control. Remember, your value isn't proven by how fast you respond. It's proven by how well you stand firm in who you've become. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next video.